Hi, and welcome to the Love Learns podcast. My name is Dionne Zara, just your average girl wishing to learn more about love and relationships. As a young girl, I always dreamt about my wedding day, and to be fair, I still do sometimes. With many couples around me, I quickly came to realise love isn't as straightforward as the movies make out. So I thought I'd have conversations with couples who made it past happily ever after to learn more about love. And when I say love, I don't mean like the movies and fairy tales, but I mean LOVE, learning to be open, vulnerable, and empathetic. So if you're ready to learn, unlearn, and discover love through couples, you're in the right place. Hi, and welcome to the Love Learns podcast, where we learn, unlearn, and discover love through couples. This week we are speaking to GB and Fran. These couple I've met, I met GB actually in my Connect group, and when he came to London after they got married, and they started long distance after their marriage. So their story is a little bit different. They started long distance, their relationship in a long distance relationship, got married, and then Fran moved over to Nigeria, and whilst they were married, I think almost 4 or 5 years into the marriage, GB came to the UK where I met him. So that's where this story starts, and how I know GB. So I thought I'd give you guys a bit of understanding on how I know the couple as well. So yeah, that's how I know them. So it was really nice to catch up with them. We spoke for a very long time, guys. So I've had to edit some of their interviews so that we can keep it under an hour. But if you want more of their conversation, just put it, like, let me know in the comments, and I can put the bits that have been edited out in a different video so you guys can watch. But they're just such an amazing couple to talk to. So we just kept on talking and didn't realize the time, and it just went over time. So yeah, let me know if you want to see more of them in the comments, and I will definitely post those. But yeah, let me know first. If you don't want it, then I won't post it, but if you do want it, make sure you let me know in the comments. So yeah, let's say hi to GB and Fran.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to hear about you guys' story and how you guys have navigated through long distance in your life. So could you just start by telling us how you guys met?
Okay. I think you go first.
So we met in the summer of 2009, I think it was, through a mutual friend. Yeah, that's short.
Okay. She has a short version to it, so it's okay. Yeah, I think we met through a friend, and she was always visiting Lagos with a friend, and after, well, my friend just told me, like, hey, there's this girls in town, let's go say hello. But meanwhile, my friend already told me that I can't hook up with any of them because they're serious girls. I said, okay. So, when you go somewhere with a prepared mind, that okay, I just meeting the girls, hello, and that was it. But after the first introduction, they each time they were coming to the country for their business, they will always contact me, not my friend anymore. So we now kept seeing every time they come around, just as friends. And yeah, that's how we developed our own friendship outside my friends' connection for about 2 3 years.
Cool. So you guys started your friendship as well as a long distance kind of?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were friends. And like I told you, my friend already warned me. This is a no-go area, so there was no intention. So for years, it's remained like that. So yeah.
So we
So
kept in contact, but those were still BlackBerry days, I think. There wasn't WhatsApp
Of
then.
course.
So yeah, we would always like chat on BlackBerry and just say hi every now and then. It wasn't regular, but it was consistent.
okay. And so how did it change from being just friends to you guys actually being together?
Okay.
Yeah, that was a funny story. So we had met the first time in 2009, and then Christmas 2011, I traveled to Lagos for the first time by myself. So my friend didn't come along, and it was just myself. And I called him to say, "Oh, I'm in town. You know, it would be nice to see you if you have the time." And yeah, and then he came to see me. That was at a popular place in Victoria Island called Oriental Hotel. I was at a church event actually. It was the Love Feast with my friend, and then he said, "Okay, fine. He'll pop by. He'll just say hello." And I found this out later. It was an outdoor event. It was a church event. So I was really dressed. I was looking pretty. Um, I was, yeah, I was looking like he had never seen me before. I didn't think it was anything special, but like I didn't realize that in the past he'd always met me in jeans and a t-shirt because I was always working. So yeah, so he came and met me there, and yeah, I guess the veil was lifted.
The truth is, right? She doesn't dress up. She's not one of the girls that make up, dress up, always want to be on point. Now, she was always coming around tomboyish, t-shirt, jeans, just like casual, always casual. So it's like somebody that you've never seen made up or wear a weave or really dressed up. So this very evening she called. She had already told me she was around. So now I just okay, I'm gonna pop in at Orient Hotel to say hello to you guys. And I got there right on the staircase, and this lady was just standing there looking proper, looking like a woman, looking like a lady. And suddenly I was like, oh, wow, this was after 3 years.
A friend.
So I was like, wait a minute. So I didn't know there was some kind of gorgeousness in there that she was just trying to be very casual. So that actually got to me, and I think I saw a different person that very moment. Like, okay, if you could actually look this, not that she wasn't looking presentable, but in a very formal way that like she said, the veil was taken off. So yeah, I saw her properly.
So after that day, GB was hooked and was like, okay, we can
No,
do so much
I,
fun
the,
together.
the,
He was hooked.
no, the truth is, like that very night, yeah, after we went for drinks with her sister and stuff, and we were not talking, and I got discovered that oh, she was not in a relationship, and I was not. So I knew she was my wife
Oh,
because
wow.
something was just completely different that moment, that day. You know, it's like somebody you see regularly, casually, and suddenly they're dressed up without any other person interfering in our conversation. So we at one-on-one, we're talking more. And I was just like, GB, what has been happening to you all this while? I was really like, what's how come you've not seen this lady all this while? So yeah, that moment she was my wife.
Wow. And Fran, did you know when it shifted for you? Was it around the same time?
A while. It took me a while. I think I had just moved on from my previous relationship, which was very short, but it was also long distance, and I was a bit wary. I was a bit wary about whether or not it would last. I think my head wasn't in the right space. I knew that, or I was fascinated and excited about the vibe that we had and how well we got along, and the fact that we shared so much in common, which we didn't even realize prior to that. Um, but then this was a short trip. As soon as I left, we had a conversation. It was a bit emotional going back to the UK, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna approach this with a blank sheet, and I'll see how it goes. But I was very wary. I wasn't sure.
So at what point did they change for you? Were you sure?
It took me about, I think, 3 4 months. I think about March, April. I was sad. He was so consistent. We had regular phone calls daily, actually.
I think I was ready to get married even before March. I didn't know she was playing along God as well. I thought we were already in the same place,
No,
the
we
same
went.
frequency.
Yeah, we went.
You know, so each time I say I love you, she'll respond, but it was later she told me that it was later in March that very year, she was sure. I think that was, you came back again.
No, you came to visit me.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah,
Yeah, it took me a while. I really wasn't sure, and I wasn't ready to kind of like put my all into it. Um, but yeah, it shifted very fast. I think within 3 or 4 months, I I could tell that okay, this is looking like it's going somewhere.
Nice, nice. And so you went back to London. So how long were you guys together when for the first trip? So you went for the first trip in 2011. Yeah, 2011. Went how long before?
That was literally just that was Christmas period. I was there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
yeah.
That was it.
Oh, so you guys blossomed that relationship in those 2 weeks, and then you went off to London.
So I have to say to that actually, a game changer for me was I traveled to the village with my parents. But anyway, so I had an accident. I ran into a glass door and I had a huge cut on my leg. Um, I needed a few stitches. And then on my way back to Lagos, my sister and her then fiance, we were supposed to travel back to London, but I fell ill. I fell ill. I had high fever. I was throwing up all sorts. And on our way to the airport, I'd already felt like strange. I felt weak. And then by the time we got to the airport, we checked in and I just wanted to come home. I wanted to get to London. And then literally, one of the stewardess saw me and she saw the bad state I was in and she said, she can't let me fly. So I had a little panic attack. But yeah, had no luck. They sent me home. My friend took me to the hospital, and GB had called me to say, "Oh, just to wish you a safe journey home." And I said, "Oh, I'm not flying. I'm in the hospital." And he was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "What hospital?" But they had given me like tablets. So I was in and out of consciousness, and I just about saw the name of the hospital on one of the, I think it was a sheet of paper. So I told him the name of the hospital, but then I think I knocked out. And I don't know how many hours later I woke up, but he sat on my bed.
Oh wow! So you
He
woke up
sat
and
on
he was
my
there.
bed. It was like literally I woke up and then there's this guy sitting on my bed and then he tells me how he tried to locate the hospital and he couldn't find it and he asked a whole lot of people for directions. And you need to understand, like, Lagos is split into the island and the mainland, and he actually traveled all the way from the island to the mainland, and then he had to locate this little private clinic, and he only had half of the name of the clinic. But basically, like, I woke up and then he was there, and when they discharged me, he took me home, but my friend wasn't home and we couldn't reach her. So he took me to his place, and then I knocked out again. And then I woke up in the morning and I looked at him and he's like, "Don't worry, I slept on the sofa." "Don't worry, I slept on the sofa. It's all good." And then when I saw my leg, it was bleeding, it looked a mess, it needed a change of dressing. And this guy gets his emergency kit out and he changed my dressing. I couldn't watch because it was so gory, but he changed my dressing. And I was just so taken away at the fact, I mean, we've been friends for a long time, but I just thought it was amazing how he made the effort to visit me, to pick me up. He didn't have my suitcases. So he got me clothes and then he dropped me off at my friend's house. But he was so caring, and that was, I think, a game changer actually.
I think the 2 week shows around just played itself out very well. So many opportunities for me to prove myself as a man, So I think I took it.
Well done, well done. But it's a
Yeah.
very sweet thing to do, and something that you have to be quite intentional with, isn't it? You have to, like, okay, if this is what I want, I have to show that this is what I want and this is worth the effort, kind of thing, and put in at the beginning. That's amazing. Oh, that's such a great story to find
Yeah,
on.
I think it comes with you knowing that this person is gonna go away for a while, that you have to make an impression early. You know, you don't really have much time to like say, okay, let that call someone else not being there. You know, like you just want to make a good impression so that when they go back, they miss you. That
Yeah,
was that was actually a nugget, actually. Direct.
very cool. And so after you've gone back to London, Fran, how often did you used to go back to Lagos, or GB comes to London? How often were you guys seeing each other?
So after that time, he came to visit a few months later. It wasn't so
Yeah,
long.
I came 2 months later, right? And I think you asked her, how did I know she was the one, right?
Yeah.
Good, because that was actually the major part of it, you know. So when she left that December, and I was trying to, I'd already told myself, this is my wife, you
Mhm.
know. But to convince myself, a lot of people say they're from God. God appeared to them in the dream. They saw an angel walking on the street and say, hey, thou, that's your wife, kind of thing. Nah, that didn't happen to me. So what I did was to place demand on God,
Mm,
3 demand, you know, like if I'm going to marry this woman, I will have to get a new apartment,
mm,
you know. So God, I need to get an apartment before social period, you
wow.
know. And before I knew it, the money came, so I upgraded myself, and I told her about it. Practically, we were looking for it together online, so to say, and I got the place. Then I'd always be driving an official car. So I think after my first car some years back, that didn't happen very well. So I didn't even bother to buy a car. So I said, okay, I met this girl just in case the company comes to take their car. We can't be taking cab up and down. So God, I need a car, I need a house, and I'd never applied for a UK visa before. I've traveled to other countries, but not UK. I never loved UK, you know. So and I said, I'm gonna go apply for a visa, and I don't want to be rejected for any reason, you know. So if you can do these 3 things within this January, February, you know, she left in December, within this January and February,
Wow.
then I confirm she's the one. And one way or the other, God just did it. Money came from and where I could not expect. I was able to buy a new car, I was able to get an apartment, and I got the visa. And I'm like, okay, all this falling in place. That means I need to go to London to go and meet this lady, you know? And that's actually why what confirmed to me that she's the one.
Wow.
Okay. So I think I went in February or March, you know, to see her. And yeah.
I think we were also lucky that year because literally after he came to visit, a few months later, was it my sister or your sister that got engaged?
So good.
Both of them got engaged actually. Both our sisters got engaged. And my sister had her traditional wedding in Nigeria, and his sister also had her traditional engagement and wedding. So I had a reason to go back to Nigeria.
Mm,
Um, yeah. And then he had a reason to come to London because my sister got married and he wanted to be there. So that year we had seen each other quite frequently, actually, every 3 months or
Like
so.
3 times between March and September.
oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But
so
yeah.
good. And so when did you guys become like, when did you get engaged, or officially like decide you're going to move into the same place together? Or how long a gap was it from when you started
We
dating?
literally we proposed in November on my birthday, 3 days before my sister's wedding.
That's the reason for that. All right. Let me give you a background. Right. That same, you know, I told you like this December 2011, I knew she was my wife.
Yeah.
So I was even telling her like, oh, we don't have to plan so much. Let's just get married in March. She was just laughing at me. Like this guy, you're just too forward. You know. So I didn't know she was not she was still studying things, yeah. But I was so sure. Then I think in October or September, I can't remember the date, your sister's traditional,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'd spoken with her dad on the phone, just casually as a friend. Like, oh, maybe she gave the phone to Popsy, like, oh, my friend wants to say hello to you. Then, now, this very day, for the traditional, they came to Nigeria. I drove them from Lagos to our hometown, Akure, for the traditional. And the moment we got to the house, first time of meeting the father just greeted me with so much enthusiasm, so much love. And the guy grabbed my hand and took me around to introduce me to all the family members. That is, our aunties, uncles, and the rest. And guess what the introduction was? He said it in Yoruba language, which meant husband to be.
Ooh.
So the father introduced me, meeting me for the first time. I never told him anything. He said, "Oh, meet Francis's husband to be." You know, but because he said it in the local language, it was deeper than the interpretation.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, now I do not have a choice. You know, so since it sounded like he had already prophesied and I had not proposed to her then, you know. So when it was the following month was the same sister's wedding in London. So and I told myself like, I want this man to introduce me properly, and I want the introduction to be genuine, to be real.
Yeah.
So I don't want him to go introduce me as husband to be when I've not even proposed to the woman, you know. So I had to propose before the wedding.
Oh,
That was what,
very,
which happened to be on birthday.
which happened to be her. So it was the birthday was just the icing on the cake.
You get what I mean?
Oh, that's so good. Okay. So then from engagement to wedding, were you guys still doing long distance?
All the way.
All the way. So
Wow.
we didn't see each other until the month that we got married, actually.
Yeah, yes. After November, after the wedding in London, after our sister's wedding in London, we got married in April 2013.
Following year.
So the following year. So we didn't see throughout from November till a week or two weeks to the wedding.
Yeah.
How did you guys even navigate through like the choices? Because there's a lot of decisions in planning a wedding. How did you guys decide all those things, like with that craziness all happening at the same time? How did you navigate through that?
So I think we were very lucky, or should I say blessed, to have had GB has this family friend. She's a wedding planner. And she, from the onset, she was like, "Oh, you know what, guys? You know, I'd love to help you guys with this." And even though I had a picture of what I wanted, and GB also had a picture of what he wanted, we were actually not very protective or crazy over this. We knew what we wanted. We put together a mood board of the looks that we wanted and what we wanted to run with. But we trusted her with, you know, her expertise, and she actually pulled everything together fantastically. I think we were really more about making sure that we owned it, that it was a reflection of what we wanted, that it was intimate. So we were very particular about those things. But I think everything was pretty smooth. We were really just focused on the bigger picture, and then all the details we left to this lady. And then we also both have great friends who are really supportive, especially on my side. So all my friends, we were more excited about getting them all come to Lagos, you know, making sure they had a good time, making sure we had a great program together for them, and making sure that, you know, everybody took something away from this. So yeah.
Yeah, in addition to that, I know when you're planning weddings, family pressure is another aspect of it that make a couple actually have a lot of stress. Our family wants this, my family wants this, you know, how do we do it? This is what we do in our family and blah blah blah. In our own case, we're a bit free from such pressure. So there was no interference actually. Because what was important to our family was the traditional, which we allowed them to do. We didn't even do anything. I can't even remember having a picture, a proper video
Hang on,
from
babe.
it.
Let's go back because you're assuming that you understand. So in Nigerian culture,
okay.
In Nigerian culture, you marry more than once. So there's a couple of ceremonies. So there's the traditional engagement, which is but the traditional wedding, which is what we would call a traditional engagement. Actually,
an engagement. Yeah,
it's an engagement, but
it's more of the family.
Yeah, the family
is the main traditional wedding. You know, like they call it. You know,
that's what's most important to most parents.
Yeah.
And then you have the court wedding, which is
the legal one,
the legal aspect of it. And then you have the white wedding, which is the Christian wedding, which is in church. And so which
we are more concerned about.
Yeah, so we had 3 weddings actually.
Yeah, you want to put it in the space of 1 week. you know, a week apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got married. We had a traditional on the 7th of
On
April.
Saturday,
We
yeah.
had a legal
On the
on the
11th.
4th.
On the 11th.
Was it 11th rather?
11th of
And we
April.
got the church wedding on the 13th.
13th of April.
Wow. It was
Yeah.
a jam-packed week.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you guys are married now. Fran's moving to Lagos. How did we even come to the decision that Fran was the one moving?
So I've always, even way before I met GB, I've always been very curious about Lagos, about Nigeria. So I was born and raised in Austria, and I lived in England for a couple of years. And I was always very curious about it. I was always fascinated by it, but I just never had the confidence to actually take that leap. And so that was also part of the decisions, or part of the things that kind of like gave me a lot more confidence when I met GB. For us, it was a no-brainer at that point in our relationship. Work was great, but I wanted something new. I wanted to delve into something different. So I'm not sure if we even debated clear from the get-go.
Yeah, because you were interested in moving to
I wanted to come to
Nigeria,
Lagos,
so that was not giving about that.
Lagos gives me great skin. It's amazing. It's so much. When I'm in the UK, the weather is so great. As in, it suits me. It really
The
does.
fact that she likes the sweats, you know,
Not
the oily.
the sweat, not the
You know,
sweat.
each time I say, "Oh, it's hot," she's there say, "Oh, I like it." You know, I'm like, "Where are you
I
from?"
can't deal with the winter. I can't deal with cold. I was born and raised in Austria, but like I'm not a winter girl. I'm all about the sun. So yeah.
Oh,
So when it comes to moving, she had always been saying it. That was straightforward, and I wasn't ready to even move to any other place then. So yeah, so straightforward.
wow.
But it
Okay.
wasn't immediately, because like literally I didn't move until September.
Yeah,
or
you moved
August
30.
of
You
that
moved
year.
30 months after wedding.
Yeah.
You know, so but we knew you were coming here. We had already started buying stuff, shipping stuff down. So yeah.
Okay. And after you moved over, the transitioning from London to Nigeria, how was that for you, Fran?
Tough.
Yeah.
I think it was so tough. So basically, it was tough, babe. Don't you remember? So it was great in the sense that we had moved into this really cute 3-bedroom house. I loved it. It was empty at the beginning because we wanted to pace ourselves and really, get it to a state that we felt like was home. So that was exciting. But then I didn't realize how different it was. Not in a bad way, but like I missed my friends. I didn't have any friends. All I knew was GB, but then that's changed very fast because,
You were discovering the other ones that were here that you never knew were here.
yeah, I met a few friends that I had known, but I had lost contact with. They had relocated a couple of months or years earlier, so that was nice reconnecting. But it was also different because now we had to make friends together. So his friends were great because they really embraced me, and we kind of like had a nice group of people very early in our relationship, or in our marriage, which was fantastic. But I just realized that it was at the beginning a little bit tough. I was very dependable. I couldn't drive. So the first thing, I had done a few attempts at learning how to drive, and then driving abroad is great, but then driving in Lagos is a life skill. Driving in Lagos is different. And so the first thing he did was put me behind the wheel. I wasn't ready. I was not ready to drive in this mad.
No, I can remember you saying you get a
traffic.
driver, and I'm like, here the driver could just go mad on you and just park the road and park the car on the road rather and give you your keys. And you tell me what you're going to do at that point.
So he was like, Frank, you need to learn how to drive. And it's okay in a sane environment. Lagos is not sane. It's anything but sane. So like the fact that he put me behind the wheel freaked me out. And then so we argued a lot about this, but finally, eventually, you can imagine how it is to learn how to drive from your partner. But anyway, so I managed to learn how to drive with a lot of opposition and fights and all that. But now I'm so grateful for it, even though I did get a driver eventually. But yeah, that was tough. So like just, driving, just understanding the environment, finding your way around. And then church was a big deal as well, because the church that I was coming from, even though it was a branch from the Lagos headquarters, the Lagos version was the London version was so small. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a family church, but it was small. We all knew each other. I had a great relationship with my pastors. I was in the department. Pretty much not all of my life, but like 70% of my life evolved around church. Even my social life evolved around church. And now I was in Lagos in this church that is 10 times bigger than what I'm used to. It's huge and it's packed with people. I don't know anyone. I'm looking at my pastor from the fourth gallery.
Wow.
It was a mega church, and I'm not a fan of that term, but it was so huge, and I felt like a little a little pea, in a pot. But that changed fast because we joined a department, and then I made some friends, but initially, like, it was odd, it was strange, but I was very blessed. I got
No, they recruited us because they wanted a flavor in the department, they just felt they just felt this foreign girl coming who actually help us push up our
there's a lot of
so immediately after our wedding they reached out like, oh, would you guys want to join our team? I knew it wasn't because of me. It was because of
but you know what, that's not what it was though.
What was it about?
So what happened is, because I was in London when we were doing the premarital counseling. So we were both doing the premarital counseling, but he was doing it in Lagos and I was doing it in London. And then at some point, they interviewed us together. So they wanted to get to know us. And I was on a Zoom. Was it a Zoom call?
Skype.
It was Skype. There was no Zoom then. It was a Skype call. It was a Skype call. And the guys in the department were so, I don't know. They were, what do you call it? They were so entertained by us. I don't know why. I didn't get it, but they were so entertained by us.
No, first, normally people go into the interview with their partner.
As a couple, right?
So Anna walked in with the tablet.
Myself. Yeah.
So that was already funny. So I walked in with the tablet. They're like, okay, what are you up to? I say, she's not here, but she's here. So that was already intriguing for them.
Yeah, so we hit it off with some of the guys in the department. And then when I physically came just before the wedding, we had a few more classes. There were a few more sessions, I think 2 more sessions or so that we had to do together.
Yeah.
And then we met some of them. And yeah, we hit it off straight up. And then they recruited us to join the department, which we did reluctantly. But yeah, I've been there ever since. So yeah.
So that's like a whole 8 years later. Is it 8 or no?
Yeah, it's gonna be 8 years in 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really amazing. So you guys work with couples a lot then, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We've graduated over 500 couples now.
Wow.
In that space of 7, 10 months or 9 months.
Wow. I'll come back to that actually. So that sounds like a culture shock in itself for you, Fran, because it was like, whoa, there's a lot going on. Get a lot of different aspects to navigate. GB, how did you try and lessen the blow or like make it a little bit more easier for Fran before she came or during her time there?
To settle down here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think naturally I'm hands-on. I think I'm more hands-on than average guy. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet. I fix a lot of stuff because in Nigeria we get a lot of help. You can have a household that has 2 helps, nanny, housemates and stuff. So most people in Nigeria are chilled when it comes to doing anything because you can pay someone to do it for you, literally. So she coming in, I had to help in several ways. One of the major ways I did and I still do, and I still tell some of our students in class is switching the role of a man. You know, there's an idea around the role of a man, role of a woman, kind of a thing. For example, who goes to the market to buy stuff? You know, in London, you guys go to a brieful market. You go to Asda, you go to Tesco, just pick up stuff, and it's clean, and you go. Fantastic, good. We have that here also in Nigeria. We have Spa, we have ShopRite, and the rest of them. But we really have markets, like the local market. So if you're seeing for your audience, I'm trying to describe it for them. You've seen the map of a market in Nigeria that is muddy, dirty, with a lot of stuff. Yeah, we'll go there. Why do we go there? Everything is organic, it's raw, fresh, and cheap. You know, so my wife doesn't do that. So in our first week of marriage, she wanted to try that. And in Nigeria, if they call the price of anything for you, it's automatically after price. So if I say something is $10 or £10, hey Dion, how much is this phone? If you say £10, just know that you're gonna pay £5 for it. But if you don't ask for £5, you're gonna pay £10 for it. So I first gave her that formula, like if you go to the market and they call anything for you, right? Just tell them, no, you must not to haggle. That's the point. So just tell them you're gonna pay half of it. So she goes to the market. She sees anything she wants to buy. They tell her £20, for example. Because of her accent, they already know she's not from here. And they know that somebody would have tutored her on this formula. So they will not give her times 100%. Whatever. So now the item is actually £10. You know, ideally, they would have told me it's £20 because they know that I'll cut it down to £10. But for her, when she talks, they're just like, oh, it's £40. So by the time she even thinks she's bringing it down to £20 and she's happy, yeah, I got a good deal. They're laughing at her. So she goes to the market, you know, she'll take a lot of money and she'll come back home with very little stuff. Then I would just like from my own saying like, oh, how much did you get it? She just gave me the price. I said, what? That's so expensive. I said, okay, you want to survive here, somebody needs to go to the market for you. And fortunately, the market we go around here is along from our office. So she was on the opposite side. So it wasn't logistically ideal for her to drive all the way to my office area to shop there when I could just leave my office and do the shopping. So that's how we switched that role. Like, okay, I'll be buying the stuff. One, it's not ideal for you logistically. Two, I can haggle more and save more money when it comes to that. And that's how I started doing it. Till date. So suddenly it's my role now. We need anything. I'm the one that goes to the market to go get it. That's what happened. So that was a way to actually make a assessment without being, without feeling stressed or cheated with each time she goes out to buy stuff. So that was just a small example of so many other ways I could.
Yeah.
I think there was a whole. I think there was a whole lot because very often, even when my friends heard that I moved, people would say things like, "Oh, have you guys got light?" And I'm like, "I always have light." And it seems like such a small thing, like a normal thing, but then it's not. So what he did is, we got an inverter, so batteries, and we had a generator from the get-go. So even when there was no light, supposedly, we had a backup. But even if that backup failed, we had another backup. So he made sure like that everything felt like I was at home, how it would work at home. And then from the get-go, we made sure, like the first time I think one of my friends came to visit, they were like, "Oh, your place is really cute. It doesn't even feel like we're in Africa." And I'm like, "Hold up, sweetheart." What do you mean? But like literally, I feel like we made sure that our environment and even our lifestyle was very balanced. Not to say that there are things in Nigeria that are not great. Like us, we live in our little bubble, and we live both, or the best of both worlds. So he kind of like really created that. So we have our own little space where everything feels like normal to me.
Yeah, that's a good part. That's a good point there. Another aspect is that still going on about the rules, because that's the only way you could actually make her feel comfortable. I know that I knew that she was used to doing a lot of stuff by herself when she used to live in London. But now I had to take up that whole role, like the hard things in the house. You know, she had never gone to the filling station to buy fuel into the car. I would always go to buy that. She just drives the car. You know, so many things. So suddenly I could remember our sister saying, "Oh, Frances likes Nigeria because GB has spoiled her." You know, that kind of a thing. But it was necessary for her to not even feel stressed. You know, actually just coming into the town, you don't want to start stressing. So it's a conscious effort to do that. And at the same time, it's not so good because she ended up getting two sports.
No, but
So even
no,
when I had to
no,
move
no.
now
I,
to London, she had issue in the first
I
few weeks
must,
actually maintaining the system.
I
That was
must
abuse.
disagree. So well, he did shelter me for a while. I wasn't spoiled. I just feel like I needed to settle in. And then he's naturally an alpha male, so he takes care of things. And he just doesn't like the idea of me, I don't know, going to buy petrol. Having said that, when he traveled to the UK and I was in Lagos by myself for a little while, I had to do all the things that I was doing normally, plus the things that you used to do.
Yeah, but now you had three people working for you. You had an assistant, you had a nanny, you had a driver.
No, and I had a driver that just disappeared on me from one day to another, and I had to figure out how to do things by myself. I had a nanny that wasn't working on weekends, so I was doing that by myself. Like there was a lot of
Fair enough.
yeah, there was a whole lot of stuff, and we have very different approaches. So even though he was sheltering and looking after me, I had a very different approach to things, which I think at some point he felt might be a bit dangerous, but it worked in my favor. So, you know, I made a whole lot of friends. Everyone at the petrol station knew me. We were friends. I think there was a time I forgot my purse, but they know me because I'm so nice and I'm friends with everyone.
Oh, no.
So I didn't pay for I didn't pay because I forgot my purse. All the area boys on the streets, the beggars knew me, would say hello to each other because that's not the
Because she was dashing out all the money.
No, it wasn't. Most people would just walk past and not say anything. But you know, if you look at me, I acknowledge you. So I was the foreign girl. But I was the nice girl. As in, I made a lot of friends, even till date. And I think I managed quite well.
Yeah.
I can also go to the market. The difference is that I might not save as much as he does. Not because I don't know that they're cheating me, but because they just don't budge. They could have an argument about how much you want to sell your tomatoes for. Is not a useful way to spend my time. But yeah, so that's why I'd rather go to the supermarket.
I hear. Oh, sorry, my internet's just gone in and out, but it's come back again. It sounds like there was a lot, but you guys, okay, we've gone from you guys dating just after marriage. So what happens when GB moved to the UK? How did that happen? How did that all come about? And you guys transitioning into long distance again after marriage?
I think that was actually necessary because that point now we're looking at career progression. You know, so generally when you marry, a lot of things happen, right? And that's what make you grow. There'll be life will put challenges on you. Children will be there. You have a lot of things to do, and as a man, you would want to grow. So no matter how you like your comfort zone, and everything is built and dandy and beautiful, that could be other opportunities. You know. So this case, I had to go to London to work with Google, and she could do a little work. She worked with the embassy, with our own embassy in Nigeria. So she couldn't leave. I wouldn't even say she leave, you know. So we just have to look at it. Okay, how do we do it? Of course, now there's technology. WhatsApp is there now. Like before, where you couldn't make a video call, it was more BlackBerry, Messenger, and stuff. But now it's easier to communicate. You can literally see regularly. So just a conscious effort to keep talking. And since we have a lot of projects now, goals we're working towards, the kids are part of the goals. So there were a lot of things to talk about, even if you want to put aside our own personal difference and just look at what do we have to do, what's happening in the children's school and everything, the whole month can take the whole month. So moving abroad and doing long distance during marriage now at a stage 5 6 years then into the marriage was easier because we are now very mature in the marriage. She might miss me, but she's not missing because she has a butterfly in her belly. It's more of another type of love now that we are now living. So yeah, I think it just played itself out, and thank
But
God
it
for
was a
that.
lot tougher though, I think, on us because what you find is that I enjoyed the aspects where you're just catching up, but then also we had slight working out, slight difference, not a huge difference in timing, but I would drop the kids off in the school, go home, go to work, get home, do whatever I need to do, have dinner, whatever. Then he would get home, and then also, well, he would have had dinner maybe, and then we kind of like catch up, and then you spend a lot of time speaking about the kids and how your day went. But um, there was so much that you were trying to pack into the day, but you were exhausted. I mean, like, you just spent 8 hours in the office. He was exhausted. Then we'd speak for a little while. Then we'd probably just get off the phone, relax, and then maybe talk again a couple of hours later. But then we figured that we had to be a lot more intentional about, what the kind of conversations that we were having, um, finding time for us, and investing in us, because at some point during the time, our tanks were running empty as well. So it was all about, how are the kids and how is school, and how are you managing with this, and is this working? And he would get really worried if, I don't know, the bulb wasn't working and the electrician wouldn't come. So he was trying to still manage the home, but he wasn't on ground, and it was frustrating, if the car wouldn't work and I don't know what's happening and mechanic is not showing up and he can't do much. So I think there was a whole lot of pressure on him, because normally he was so involved, and now he was still trying to do the same thing but from a distance. Um, so that was tough. And at the same time, during that year, we were building as well. We were building our first home. Um, and, ideally, he was hoping to be on site and check out all these things and sort out things. And there's a limit to what I can do, and how I can handle like local artisans and things like that. So I think that was our conversation, our communication kind of like had to really improve there, um, to make sure that, I could extend what it is that he wanted, make sure that, those things were implemented and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good example of switching roles now. When we're having the building project and I was away, yes, it would have been my major role to supervise all the activities, and she just comes and see. But now she was my eyes there. So she was basically the project manager of the whole project, and she developed new skill sets and likeness for building that most of the decisions we made in the house, they were all like this. She would just run by me. I was just like, okay, if you think it looks good, yeah, let's go for it. So it's part of the challenges that say that no rules are cast in stone. It depends on the situation, and a lot of things can change. So yeah, being separate for that period, as in living in different locations, we have things to do. So it got us busy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We had another goal that we were trying to achieve. We wanted to move into this place, um,
Yeah.
before our next rent was due. So GB was really like all about work, putting in the hours, putting in the hours, and making that money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how often were you guys seeing each other in that space of time? How long were you doing long distance for? And
Sorry,
how long were
What do
you
you say?
guys doing long distance for in that period of time?
18 months.
Yeah, over a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but we were seeing, not like we didn't sleep over a year.
Oh, he came every 2 months or so.
Yeah, I came every 6 weeks.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, every 6 weeks, come for a week, max 2 weeks, and then yeah, and go work.
Yeah. So it was different this time around because it wasn't just us, it was also the kids, making sure that they see their dad and, making sure that communication was happening and all that. So,
But something happened, when I left in 2018 in September, I didn't come back home until December.
Mm.
So 4 months apart. And when I left my last born then was just a year
yeah.
roughly. So when I came back in December 2018, and they didn't know I was coming back, or I don't know if they knew I was coming back.
No, it was supposed to be a surprise.
They surprised, right? I entered the room and I went to the bed. So I think they woke up and they came to the room. Two of them, Leo and Ian, they came to the room and they were surprised to see. So I covered myself with a duvet. So they were wondering, like, who's the person in my mom's bed? You know, they were really curious. Like, there's a man in mommy's bed. Only for me to just open the door. Is daddy? You expect them to be very excited, like, oh. That was a moment in that space.
A split second.
They were frozen. They were looking at me like, who is this? They were looking at me like,
what are you doing here?
you are not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So my 1-year-old boy, guess what he did? He went to take mommy's phone. I was looking at the phone. I was looking at me, trying to say that you are supposed to be in the phone. We talk to you in the phone. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I
Yeah.
felt so bad. My son, then 3 or 4, Leo, I guess it was not, maybe his memory was a bit like, yeah, it's daddy. My point is, within 4 months, they were nearly forgetting me in real life. They could relate with me on the phone.
Yeah.
But for that moment, they could not. Even when I said, come on, give me a hug, the hug was a bit cold. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Just having this kind of hug from your children. Then after a few hours I spent in the house, I think they woke up like, he's here, kind of a thing. And I said, okay, henceforth, I'm not going to go for 4 months anymore. Like, it didn't make sense. You don't want your children to forget who you are. You don't want to lose an emotional connection with them. So I had to change my strategy. So I came back in January. I came back to London in January. Before February, I came back to Nigeria again. So they couldn't forget me. So that's why I said, okay, every month I must come home. Even though it's 6 weeks apart, but it still fell within every month.
Yeah.
So to say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think when you do have kids, you have to start thinking about like all the family, not just you two as a unit, because they're also building memories of you guys.
Yeah.
So that's really key actually for people who are listening, who do have kids and are also thinking of doing long distance or are in long distance relationships. There's other relationships that need to be built as well. Do you guys? How did you guys manage with like intimacy in those in the, while after you're married? Was that an easier? Was it easier because you guys had already gone past 5 years or of being together, or how did you manage in any intimacy issues?
So I think for me, um, the fact that we had a season where we were apart when we were still courting or dating helped a whole lot. Even though it was a different kind of setting, it helped a lot. So pre-wedding or pre-marriage, there was a lot of conversation. It also so happened that I was working in public health, and I worked in sexual health promotion and HIV prevention. So I'm quite vocal when it comes to this topic. And he knew that, and all my friends know me because then I was a pretty, a pretty vocal advocate. I still am, but but anyway, so we talked about it a lot prior to then. It was actually fairly easy because we were apart so much. But then when we got married, we had seasons where he traveled for a brief period, or I was away after our wedding for 2-3 months, where we didn't see each other. But we were honest always about how we felt and things like that. And even when we were apart, we'd talk about it. Um, and sometimes you would be like, oh, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I want to talk to you. I don't want to feel this way. But we would just have really honest conversations about it. And I think what made it nice is was just the anticipation to the time that we would see each other, and then just making the best out of that time that you do spend together. Um, but I also feel like very early in our relationship, we just understood seasons, you know, and relationships are very holistic. So as much as it's a very crucial and important part, there's so many different things that are also important and crucial and that make up the entire relationship. So I think we had a few seasons where we felt like, oh my gosh, I wish you were here and things like that. But and I think we've always been very determined and strong when it comes to looking at the bigger picture. So yeah.
Yeah, I think your question is, was it easy, the experience of living apart before marriage and now that we're married?
Yeah.
Right. Literally, it was more difficult now that we're married, because it was difficult, yeah, because we are now used to ourselves, or like when we're not married. When we're not married, we're just individuals used to being apart or dating, so or just live with just talking, you know. But when you're married, the dynamics and the chemistry really have changed. So staying away from your partner, intimacy level, yeah, it was more difficult than when we're not even having sex before marriage.
You replaced me with a pillow.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so the bed wasn't so empty.
So that was actually another reason why I had to increase my frequency of coming back home. So it was necessary in that regard, to keep the intimacy check. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And as you said before, did you guys practice celibacy before getting married?
Did we? What? Sorry?
Practice what?
Is it celibacy or abstinence? One of the two. Abstinence? Is it abstinence? Abstinence before you got married?
Abstinence. Yes, we did practice abstinence. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and sorry, I think that was very, very crucial, right? Because that was part of the drive to get married on time. Even though she kept pushing further, I'm like, I can't wait to grab this girl, please. And I don't just want to do it as a wedlock, so I need to get married on time. So yes, that was part of it.
Okay. And
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense now. So because when you were doing long distance, it wasn't a problem because you were abstinent, but it was still a problem, but not like one that you acted on, because you both had the idea that you were going to wait till you were married. And then when you got married, like how did you as individuals manage that feeling or expectations and ideas that you guys had around sex after marriage, like in the sense of you being separate again?
But I think it's important to maybe mention the fact that we practiced abstinence before we got married, but that was a decision that we took together. So we when we started dating, we said we were gonna abstain, but then it was a new experience also for us. When we made that decision, that was something that we did intentionally and that was new for both of us, but we were serious about the relationship and we wanted to do it right. But then that particular season as well, that 11 months that we were dating, that we were abstaining, was also tough because it was new. It was a new experience for both of us. So I think being apart helped a lot, but it was still a struggle.
Yeah.
It was a huge struggle. And I think even more so because we wanted to be intimate on that level, but we couldn't because we're trying to do it right. And then after we got married, it wasn't that we didn't want to be intimate, it was that we couldn't because of distance. Yeah. So for me, I felt that pre-marriage, it was a lot harder because it was really a decision of the mind, whereas post-marriage, it was circumstantial.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it was harder for you, but
No, I think it was easier because
really?
yeah,
Because you've been through it,
pre-married,
yeah.
yeah. Because for me, it was more of a, it was even like a control set automatically. You know, it's hard to say, oh, you don't have sex before marriage when you're listening and hanging out. So yeah, God can help you and your discipline and everything, but it was easier for us because we're not even seeing. You know, so I would say, I wouldn't say because we're so faithful or so glorious or blah 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 that we didn't have it, but I would say thank God we were practicing long,
Apart.
we were apart. So being apart in that sense had its own advantage for us, you know. So we could come out and say, oh yeah, we waited till the wedding night, so that's it. So, but I haven't said that. Looking at it from now being married, we used to ourselves. I could remember our first week of marriage. After 2 weeks, she left Lagos for London, and I couldn't just stay in the room. I was just so everywhere that I had to like travel to London to go and stay there for 1 month, you know, because I just wanted to be intimate, you know. So it's like you've now eaten the forbidden fruit, you can't let go anymore, kind of a thing.
It's not forbidden
So
anymore.
yeah, it's not, but you get what I'm trying to say. So when you're now married 5 6 years then, and you're not staying apart from the woman, it was tougher for me. So your question, going back to your question, like how did I manage that? What I did was to always switch off my mind. You know, like not think about it. It has this positive and it has this negative. When I was away, switching off my mind from intimate or sex or anything helped. You know, I got used to it. So I could go on a month and just talk to her about it and we just laugh. When she's not there, I just have a way, I have another mindset towards her. Why did I say that helped? It didn't also help because suddenly, and I ask her, even when I'm with her, if she annoys me, I could just switch off. You get, because my mind suddenly I just feel. So trying to balance it is where I'm at now. So the pro and the con is obvious, you know. So, but that was how I was able to manage that.
Wow.
But we talk a lot of sex on the phone, by the way. Oh yeah, we did. Right.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it actually.
You know, so we did.
So was that before you guys were like before you're married, or throughout the whole time you guys have open conversations about sex?
I think we always spoke about it, but I think the intensity was different. So pre-marriage, it was very what would I say, very airy. You know, it was just very like out there, just general. And then I think after that, it was a lot more detailed, a lot more about honest emotions and things like that. Because I think prior to that, we were actually also very conscious of the fact that, you know, we didn't want to cross the line here and there, and we didn't want to be inappropriate, or we didn't want to now, you know,
Get carried away.
Exactly.
So that the conversation then about intimacy or sex was somehow limited, cut. Yeah, we did a lot of talking about it, but we're not as so free to actually naturally talk about it. But after marriage, during marriage, I mean, I could say anything and it's allowed. You know, so there's no restriction, there's no curbing, there's no limits, there's no censoring, if I may say so, this time now. And there's nothing like, there's no guilt.
Yeah.
Also, there's nothing close to, am I saying the right thing? Or I hope I'm not pushing her too much. No, I even want to see her get in the mood while we're talking about it, you know, just you're feeling me now, just talking. It's okay. But before marriage, there was a limit to which we could go so that we just don't cross the line until we have to.
Yeah. But like, okay, how do you not have those conversations as well? Because sometimes there is going to be times where it's too difficult for one person to have a conversation. How do you guys manage through those? Not just about sex, but about anything. About maybe finances, maybe projects that are coming up in the future that you want as like an individual? How do you bring those things up to your partner? How kind of do you guys navigate through those conversations?
So I think what's interesting is, and I think people really underestimate that, is we had a really lucky and great start with our relationship. And like even the premarital class that we're in, it's called Starting Right. And through those 12 weeks or 3 months, you address different topics. And it's everything from roles to communication, conflict resolution, anger management, finances, sex. It cuts across almost the entire lifespan. I mean, like, you know, you can't get to know everything until you experience it, but like you can touch on things. And so even when we, just before we got married, we had touched on so many things and so many topics. We had talked about our future, what we were trying to achieve. We talked about some of our fears. And I feel like, especially at the beginning, we're still trying to get to know each other and trying to get a feel for each other. You're addressing some of these topics, especially the ones that are important to you already. And we already had uncomfortable conversations then. And so in marriage, when you finally find yourself in those situations, like it's a no-brainer. Like before it was all like very fictional and, you know, in the head, but now we're going through it, you know. So even if I, for example, don't like talking about finance, which I actually really don't, there's no way around it if you're trying to build a house, you know, and you need finances, you know, no, irrespective of how much discomfort you have or how uninterested you are, if you're trying to kind of like make something happen. And GB will always sit me down and he'll say, "Oh, Fran, I just put together the budget for next month." And I'll roll my eyes and I'm like, I don't want to know. And then he goes through the pain of kind of like breaking down everything and then kind of like giving me already a picture of, okay, this is what we can do this month, or this is what we could focus on, or we need to kind of like slow down here. I don't like doing that. But then, you know, it's not just about what I like and what I dislike. It's about, okay, you know, how do we move forward? What do we achieve? And then I also find that there are topics that he doesn't like talking about and he gets away with it. But then when, you know, you want to get to the crux of things, you know, sometimes there's just no escaping some things. I think sometimes you have to be sensitive to the fact that maybe somebody's not ready to share like emotional pain, for example. Those things I feel like, you know, you need to kind of like let the person work with their pace. You have to be ready for certain things, especially when you're talking about things of the past, things that you're hurting. Sometimes it has to do with your family. So there's some things even that I didn't know about GB or his family until maybe 3 years into marriage, because something happens that causes us to have that conversation. I think sometimes you just have to kind of like work with the pace, and sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and address things.
Yeah. Talking about some very intimate things. Let's take finance for example. Uh, for me, it has to be the foot you put forward first, which I believe there's always been transparency. So as a guy, it comes to me naturally, but it's what has been taught that is actually good. That is, you are transparent about where you are financially. So relating it to ourselves now, I spoke a lot about how much I earn, how much I have, what to do this, how can we achieve that. So there's no surprise at any point from the dating period of our lives. So putting the full disclosure, like we call it, there made every financial discussion easy for me. Even though she doesn't like talking about money, she's also very transparent. She doesn't like talking about expenses. Not that she doesn't like to share anything about money. She just doesn't like calculating the amount this way, budgeting, planning. Nah. She doesn't like that. I like that. I feel it helps, you know. So she can just like, hey, I got paid today, $2. You get what I'm trying to say? That's it. I have access to it. Then I can say, okay, I got paid today, $2. We'll put it together. It's my role now to sit down and plan the finance out and know what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve. So the bedrock has been there, which is transparency. So to talk about financial challenge, even while we're building our home, to say, okay, we can get it, we can't get that. It was an easy conversation. It was a comfortable conversation, not easy, but we were comfortable expressing that.
It's amazing. Sounds like you guys are like you've had all these intentions from the beginning, and it's kind of just drifted into your marriage, and kind of when one thing comes up, you guys deal with it as it happens, rather than getting overwhelmed by certain things, and then kind of, so it's really cool for you to see the progression in life, even though like different stages had different seasons, but it's always been you guys together kind of thing, which is awesome. Very cool. But I'm looking at the time now, and I'm like, it's late now, and I've kept you guys on here for a while. But I could go on for ages and ages, because you guys have so much wisdom, and I feel like I've learned so much listening to you guys. And I'm sure everyone else listening to this is probably going to have the same ideas. So if people wanted to reach out and ask questions, or maybe send you a message just to say thank you or something, how do they reach you?
Oh, how would they reach us? Fortunately, we have one email address. And the email address is mrmrsore@gmail.com.
Oh, I'll put the email address in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out, then they would. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for this chat, guys. And I look forward to having many more conversations with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.